Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacano with brand new defensive coordinator, but definitely not new to the Army football team or Army staff, Daryl Dixon. Coach Dixon, first of all, congratulations on the new role. Pretty awesome after you've been with the program for 11 years now. And can you provide the fans a little bit what your initial reaction was when Coach Monken first approached you and offered you the role of defensive coordinator?
Yeah, so my first initial reaction was when Coach Woody decided he was going to take other opportunities, was not only shocked, right, 'cause he's been a staple here, but also he came to me and asked me, what do I want for my future, and he talked about, he thinks that I could do this role. I could be one that can fit in this role, and I said, Coach Woody, I value your opinion. I value, everything that you've done for me. Yeah, I'll try to take on this role. He's like, well, you got to tell Coach you want it. Throughout that process, I approached Coach Monk and he approached me about it, and we had a conversation. And I told him I was interested, right, in leading our defensive football team. And it took him a couple days, and I was actually at home and about to clean, about to do some human, and he sent me a text. He's like, "Are you in the office? Could you come by?" So obviously, I stopped cleaning, got my car, drove to the stadium. It was about, I don't know, 8:30, and he said, shook my hand, said, "I'm off you the defensive coordinator job," and I shook his hand, and I still don't know how much I'm gonna make in the job. I was just excited to take the job. And that's how I'm approaching it. Get to work, and help us win games.
That's awesome. Congratulations again. I think a lot of people are excited, A, that they hired internally and that B, you were the choice. So, you know, this was kind of asked earlier in the general media session, but you coached under Coach Bateman when you first got here, and then under Coach Woody. I talked with Coach Sloan a little bit the other day. Sounds like you guys are mostly going to stick to the Coach Woody defense. Will there be a little bit of a Daryl Dixon spin on that at all, or is it going to be pretty much what we've seen the last 5, 6 years?
Yeah, it's gonna be the base defense that we've been running. Again, it's the guys that we have that are recruited to this system, and this system works. The bones of this system, it stands the test of Coach Woody being here, and that's what we're going to run. Now, are we going to have some different things, that we're going to add to it? Yes, we have some brilliant defensive minds, and we're going to get together, and some things that we may add to the package, and some things, right, that we think we need to tweak. That's what we're going to do. But what Coach Woody has, and the foundation that he has in his defense is really, really solid, and that's what we're gonna run.
Makes sense. The defense has obviously performed exceptionally the last 6 years, especially. So can't argue with that. So you are stepping into, and you mentioned this a little earlier too, a pretty big challenge. You'll have to replace 7 or 8 starters on defense. Especially the middle of that defense with Casey and Colin and Andon and Caleb there, who were just all studs. As you get ready to replace, which young guys are you excited about that you think can make an impact this year? Anybody you're looking for to step up into those roles, especially under Coach Woody, but even going back to Coach Bateman, Army's had a really good legacy at the safety and linebacker position, a number of guys who ended up in the league or were close to making the league. So just talk about that a little bit and what you expect to see kind of in those positions. And if there's any names you want to name, go ahead. But if not, I understand.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to everybody stepping up. Not just young guys. The one thing about college spring, that we're fortunate to have spring ball, but it's not like a NFL OTA where the veterans are gonna go sit and have some water and coach up the young guys. No, everybody's playing, and everybody's got to get better. And like you talked about, the middle of our defense, there's some really talented players, right, that are leaving us. But we have some experience coming back. Guys like Stephen Nadozie, who's developed a trust within me, and he's got to get obviously some reps. And then Caleb Williams, who's young, athletic, and really can help us. Guys like Larry Pickett, David Tom Rogers, Brian Barton. We have some talented young guys. Chris Williams, right, who's who's going to be a senior, who's developing, and finally maybe he can make that step. But we have some very talented guys at the safety position that Coach Sloan I know is going to develop. That we're going to have put out two guys, right? That's going to play winning football, and at the linebacker spot, we that's been like you talked about, it's been a staple in this program that our linebackers are really, really good. And for our defense to be good, those guys have to do a lot. And yeah, guys like Baylor Newsome, who's coming back, coming off an injury, but last year kind of got back into the groove and moving around a little bit. And Jake Lindsey, who you probably most Army fans don't know his name, but he from being a safety, and now he's kind of ready to step up. Elijah Easley, Bryson Banks, sorry, Jaquavius Moss, Elijah Walton, Kai Wolfork. So we have some guys that I'm excited, right, to see get out there and play. And that next great Army linebackers and next great Army safeties are going to have to come out of those groups.
Awesome. And one starter who is returning, who really made an impact late in the season, especially in the Army Navy game, is defensive lineman Jack Bowsam. And I know as a corners coach, you weren't his position coach necessarily, but stepping into the role now as DC, what are you excited about that Jack brings to the table in his skill set?
I tell you what, I don't know if I've been. I know I haven't. I've been around, and a young guy like Jack Bowsam, who took right a absence and didn't play football right last year, and then came back this year and was all conference. I don't know if I've ever seen a turnaround in a young guy like that. In this conference, right? The best G5 conference in the country.
Yeah.
And that's a lot about who he is, the work that he did when he was home, but also the development that he had under Coach Allen Smith. And that, again, I've never seen a tremendous turnaround like that in a young guy. And he's going to have to be, not only a pillar in our defense, but he's going to have to be a leader in our defense. And I'm looking forward to, him, stepping up this spring and leading that group of young D linemen. And I know he will, and he's ready.
Good stuff. And, I had the opportunity to speak with Coach Sloan the other day. Like yourself, he was on a recruiting trip, and he kind of mentioned that your guys' top priority right now is kind of locking in those last few recruits for the 26 recruiting class. How's recruiting going for you? And do you think you'll be able to hit your goals with this class?
It's going great. It's going great. Like all coaches, we want to get them on the field and see what we have, but we think we have a tremendous group on the defensive side that can help us and develop over the years and come in and play. So when we get out there, we'll know for sure. But right now, we're developing the kind of identity of the recruiting class and putting together those final pieces. But we feel good about it.
Great. And, I also, when I was speaking with Coach Sloan, said you guys have been so busy, you haven't really had a chance to kind of get into the nitty gritty of dividing responsibilities and, who may end up on the field, who may end up in the booth, all that kind of stuff. But it sounded like, from what I caught from the general media pool, you are going to backfill your position as corners coach. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're not going to pull double duty there. That's probably good. So, have you guys
Yeah.
started interviewing for that role yet, or is that when you get back to school?
Yeah, we're in the process of vetting some really outstanding candidates, and the one thing about there's tremendous interest in the job, and that says a lot about the program that Coach Monken's built, and we're gonna vet some tremendous candidates and get someone in here who's going to do a lot better job than I did, and then go win games with them.
Yep. And last year, 2025, defense performed pretty well. Honestly, it was probably the strength of the team, in our opinion. But that being said, is there anything? Let's go two angles on this. Anything the 25 defense did that you'd like to build on and kind of see repeated this year? And is there anything that you and your staff say, hey, we definitely have to get better in this one metric or this one area?
Yeah, so I'll answer your second question first. I think, as we sit down in the off season and do our study, I want to get, intimately involved with, what can we do to get better? And I'm talking about from, first steps on a particular defense to block protection, all right, to tackling, everything that comes with the fundamentals of football before you get to scheme. Right. And that's what we're going to work on, and that's what we're going to focus on. As far as, the 2025 defense, I think that is a pillar of our program, right, and who we are, and the philosophy of how we play defense, and that's being fundamentally sound, right, mastering the fundamentals, stop the run, be exceptional tacklers, eliminate explosive plays, win on third down, create turnovers, simple, rules to play fast, and then be great at situational football. And I think that 2025 team, right, that's what we did. And is it going to be different than the 2026 team? No, because that's who we are to win games, the ultimate complementary football, with our offense, and that's not going to change.
And last question for you, little different question. I know you're super busy, so I don't know how much of the championship game you had an opportunity to watch the other night, or if you got to watch the whole thing. And it's just interesting, even you talking right there, and every time, of course, I interview Coach Monken or any of the coaches and players and what you guys emphasize at West Point, and then watching kind of the way Coach Signetti runs his program at Indiana and what kind of they emphasize at Indiana. There's a lot of similarities, and it was crazy when I was watching that game. Indiana won in the kicking game. They won by not turning the ball over and creating a turnover late in the game. Like all the things Coach Monken always talks to me about every time I interview him, really. Just those basics of football and fundamentals. And Indiana coming from where they came from a couple of years ago. Now I know they have some factors that you guys don't get to utilize at West Point in terms of the portal, obviously, and having guys who've been in college since Methuselah. But outside of that, does it? I don't know. Does it give you guys, and I don't know if you need any more belief, but does it give you belief or maybe give the players belief to see what Indiana did in 2 years? And you guys you've had a rocking and rolling program since Coach Monken's been there, like to take that next step and get to the next level. Does that help with any of that at all? I know that was kind of three or four questions at once, but if you just want to kind of summarize your thoughts around Indiana and if it really helps build belief at all in y'all's program.
Yeah, I think Indiana was fun to watch. I think Coach Signetti has done a tremendous job with that program, and they're the national champions. I think for Army West Point, we need to focus on spring ball. That's first and foremost, and developing our players to hopefully have a chance in the fall.
Good stuff. Well, Coach Dixon, congratulations again. Thanks very much for taking the time with us to interview with us here at GBK. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing what the defense does next year. Thanks a lot, Army fans. This has been Joe Iacono with new Army defensive coordinator Daryl Dixon saying, "Go Army, beat Navy."